Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're talking about the cost of trust. Not just emotionally, but financially. Imagine spending 3 years pouring your blood, sweat, and every single cent you have into an idea, a genuine, million-dollar concept, only to have your best friend, the person you trusted with your entire life, steal it, launch it, and become a multi-millionaire overnight. It's a gut punch that most people never recover from. For me, that friend was Mark. He took my vision, turned it into an empire worth $50 million, and left me with nothing but debt and a shattered belief in friendship. But karma, as they say, is a patient beast. 10 years later, Mark's empire hit a catastrophic wall. And who was the only person who could save it? Me. Grab your coffee, because this is the story of the day my former best friend called me desperate, and the 3 words I used to end his career. My best friend stole my company idea and made $50 million, leaving me broke. Years later, he called me desperate. I simply replied, "My name is Elias," and for 5 years, Mark was closer to me than my own family. We met in college, bonding over late-night coding sessions and a shared, slightly insane ambition to build something huge. We both dropped out to pursue our first real project, which failed spectacularly, but that experience only made us closer. We were inseparable, a true team. The idea that changed everything came to me during a sleepless week. It was an advanced data optimization platform, we called it Apex, that could reduce large corporations' operational costs by instantly mapping and fixing systemic inefficiencies. It was revolutionary. The proprietary algorithm at the core of it? That was my design. I spent 18 months living off ramen and credit card debt, building the fundamental architecture. Mark was the business face, the one who could talk to investors, draft the slides, and manage the logistics. He was supposed to be handling the legal framework, ensuring our partnership was solid, and that the IP was protected. That was his job. We were weeks away from securing our first major seed round, $1 million that would have changed our lives, when Mark started acting strangely. He became distant, evasive about meetings, and kept putting off signing the final partnership documents. He kept saying, "It's all good, Elias, relax. We're best friends, right? Who needs paper?" Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. I trusted him completely. Then, one Tuesday, he sat me down in our cramped, shared office, completely stone-faced. "I can't do this anymore, man," he said, not meeting my eyes. "The risk is too high. I'm out. You can buy my minor equity share for $1,000, or I'll just walk away." I was stunned. We had thousands of hours invested, my entire life savings, and he was walking away weeks before the payout. I argued, I pleaded, but he was cold, repeating that the stress was too much. Eventually, I bought his tiny initial investment share just to shut him up and move on. He signed a short document stating he released all interest in Apex. I thought I had dodged a bullet, thinking he was just buckling under pressure. I was wrong. 2 months later, I saw the headlines on TechCrunch: Mark Easton secures $2 million seed round for Apex Solutions. I felt my blood run cold. It wasn't just the name, it was the exact concept, the presentation, the value proposition, everything. Mark hadn't backed out of the startup, he had backed out of me. He had taken my work, filed the IP under his name while delaying our final partnership agreement, and used my own pitch deck to secure funding. The short document I'd made him sign only covered the initial, minor equity, but didn't actually restrict him from using the knowledge he gained while working on the core IP. My lawyer later explained that because Mark had handled the legal aspects, he'd meticulously ensured the fundamental ownership documentation was never properly filed under both our names, only under his. I was hysterical. I called him, screaming, demanding an explanation. He answered, but his voice was calm, rehearsed. "Elias, I'm sorry you feel this way. I tried to warn you about the stress. Look, I'm launching now. This is a business. I'm willing to offer you a 0.5% consulting fee for the next 6 months as a kindness, but that's it. Legally, the IP is mine. You know that." I hung up on him. The audacity was staggering. He wasn't just stealing an idea, he was stealing my future, my effort, and the very foundation of my security. I couldn't afford a real legal battle against his high-powered Silicon Valley attorneys. I tried, spending the last of my savings on a cheap local lawyer, who told me the truth. Mark had covered his tracks perfectly. He held the provisional patent filing, the incorporation documents, everything. I was financially ruined, defeated, and utterly humiliated. Over the next decade, Mark's company exploded. Apex Solutions was exactly as revolutionary as I knew it would be. It wasn't just worth $50 million, it was generating that much annually. I watched Mark live the life that should have been mine. Social media was my cross to bear. Yachts in the Mediterranean, private jets, a house in the Hollywood Hills with an infinity pool, engagement photos with supermodels. Every post was a fresh stab in my gut, a reminder of the life he stole. Meanwhile, I was working as a mid-level IT analyst for a healthcare company, struggling to pay off the debt I'd accumulated trying to launch the company Mark stole. I never contacted him again. I blocked him on everything. I threw myself into my work, trying to forget that I was a functional employee, not the CEO of a multi-million-dollar startup. The rage, however, never went away. It was a cold, hard ember in my chest. I knew Mark was a brilliant salesman and a talented business mind, but I also knew something vital: he was a surface-level thinker. The deep, mathematical genius required to create Apex's core algorithm, that was all me. And I knew the algorithm had a fatal flaw. When I designed the architecture, I built in a complexity that was necessary for its power but also created a long-term instability issue. It wasn't a bug, it was a foundational constraint of the mathematical model. I had planned to address it with a complete overhaul in year 3, a massive project that only the original creator could tackle without collapsing the entire system. Mark wouldn't have understood the constraint, and he certainly wouldn't have known how to fix it. He'd just see the shiny surface. About 6 months ago, I started seeing small articles hinting at trouble at Apex Solutions. Performance degradation in data mapping. Unusual system instability. Mark had always hired bright engineers, but he treated them like disposable resources, yelling, demanding, and taking credit for their work. He bled talent constantly, leaving his team filled with competent, but not brilliant, yes-men. I knew exactly what was happening. The structural flaw I had built into the original code was finally reaching critical mass. 10 years of data saturation and operational scaling had pushed the old architecture past its breaking point. 2 weeks ago, the articles got serious. Apex Solutions faces massive client exodus following catastrophic data failures. Their stock plummeted 40% in a single day. The company Mark built on my back was teetering on the edge of collapse. Then, yesterday morning, my work phone rang. It was an unknown number, but my gut told me exactly who it was. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Hello?" I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Elias? Is that you?" "It's Mark." His voice wasn't the arrogant, booming tone of the CEO I was used to hearing in interviews. It was strained, panicked, and desperate. "Mark? I haven't heard from you in a decade." "Elias, look, I know things were complicated. I know you're angry. But I am in serious trouble, man. Serious trouble." He didn't even apologize. He immediately went to asking for help. We hit a massive wall with the core architecture. It's breaking down. We've had the top engineers in the world look at it: Google, Amazon. No one can figure out how to stabilize it without a full shutdown, and that would kill the company. "And you think I can?" I asked, leaning back in my office chair, a smile slowly creeping onto my face. "You built it, Elias. You know how it works, the foundational logic. It's that old complexity constraint you mentioned back in the day. We need the bypass key, man. You're the only one who knows it. You're the only one who can fix this. You have to help me." I stayed quiet, letting him sweat. I could practically hear him pacing in his $1 million office. "Look, I'll pay you," he rushed on. "Name your price. I can give you 10% equity in the restructured company. That's $5 million, Elias. We can be partners again. I laughed then. A genuine, cold laugh that startled him. 10%? After you stole a company that was valued at $50 million? It's failing now, he shouted. $5 million is better than zero. I picked up a pen and started scribbling on a notepad, sketching the original design of the algorithm. I knew exactly what was failing, and I knew exactly how long it would take me to fix it, about 3 days of non-stop work, followed by months of stabilization. I could save him. But why should I? Mark, I said, my voice dropping to a low, conversational tone, do you remember that conversation we had 10 years ago, when you offered me 0.5% to shut up? He stammered, I was under pressure, man, I made a mistake. A mistake that bought you a mansion, 3 sports cars, and a private jet, I countered. I remember being broke. I remember the stress of trying to pay off your debt, the debt you incurred while setting up the IP theft. I remember watching my entire life's work paraded on Instagram while I ate ramen. I'm trying to make it right now. 10%. We can be partners, he begged. Partners? I asked. You think you can erase a decade of betrayal with 10% of a sinking ship? I paused, letting the silence stretch, savoring every second of his desperation. You stole $50 million from me, Mark. You destroyed my financial life and probably set my career back by 15 years. I need you to send me the key. Just the code. I'll wire you the money right now, he pleaded. I took a deep breath, picturing his face, the smug arrogance he always wore, now replaced by sheer terror. This was my moment. This was the payback that no amount of money could buy. I looked at the complicated matrix of math on my notepad, the key to his entire empire, and I smiled. You said it yourself, Mark, I replied, my voice calm, flat, and absolute. Said what? What did I say? Just tell me the code, Elias. I repeated the words he had spoken to me 10 years ago, the words that defined our toxic relationship. I can't do this anymore, man. I didn't wait for his response. I didn't listen to the inevitable begging or cursing that would follow. I hung up the phone. Then, I unblocked him on every platform, just long enough to send him a final text, you reap what you sow, and then I blocked him again, permanently. Within a week, Apex Solutions filed for bankruptcy. The ensuing legal chaos was monumental. Major clients sued for massive breaches of contract. The news covered it as a catastrophic failure of scaling, a classic hubris story. Mark lost everything, the mansion, the cars, the company. The last I saw of him was a grainy photo in a minor financial news article, leaving the corporate office under police escort because angry shareholders were waiting outside. He looked completely defeated. I didn't get my money. I didn't get my empire. But watching the thief lose everything he stole, knowing that he crashed and burned because he needed the one thing he couldn't take, my unique genius that was worth more than $50 million. I've never slept better. Man, what a story. That calculated refusal to help, delivered after 10 years of bottled-up resentment, is truly the definition of pro-revenge. Elias watched an empire built on his betrayal crash and burn, and he didn't lift a finger. The big question here is, do you think Elias should have taken the 10% equity offer and saved the company, or was he absolutely justified in letting Mark lose everything? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I know this one is going to spark a debate. If you enjoyed this epic tale of betrayal and ultimate vindication, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. See you in the next one.